Broadcast, it's taking the world by storm. People are cutting the cord to their high cable bills and moving away from streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and others for something better. Q Broadcast. For just $60 a month, you'll get access to every channel you could ever want, including HBO, Cinemax, and Starz. And the best part? There are no contracts, no hidden fees, and you're free to cancel anytime. With Q Broadcast, you can enjoy streaming live TV, movies, and top series on up to 5 devices at once. Whether you're at home or on the go, Q Broadcast makes sure your entertainment is always at your fingertips. Imagine being able to watch all your favorite channels from anywhere, anytime, without any restrictions. We're talking about thousands of movies, hundreds of TV series, and a huge library of live channels, all in one place. And don't forget video on demand and pay-per-view events. Those are included at no extra cost, so you'll never miss a big event again. Now, take a second and think about your current cable bill. You're probably paying anywhere between $100 and $300 every month, locked into long-term contracts and hit with surprise rate increases. With Q Broadcast, that's a thing of the past. It's just $60 a month. No contracts, no extra fees, no hidden costs, and no price hikes. Why juggle multiple subscriptions like Netflix, Hulu, and cable when Q Broadcast gives you everything you need in one convenient package? People everywhere are switching to Q Broadcast, saving money and getting more content than ever before. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and sign up for Q Broadcast today. Just $60 a month, no contracts, no hidden fees. It's time to take control of your entertainment and start streaming smarter.
We live in a world where men are told it's harmless. It's just entertainment. But let's stop lying to ourselves. Pornography destroys. It weakens your spirit. It dulls your drive. And it robs you of what real intimacy is supposed to be. Every click is a step away from the man you're supposed to be. We can't call ourselves leaders if we are slaves to a screen.
As someone that is prior service, I know all about discipline. And discipline isn't out there, it's within your mind. Porn rewires your brain, weakens your will, wrecks all of your relationships. It doesn't just stay on a screen, it invades your marriage, your confidence, and your actual purpose. As men, if we don't learn to discipline ourselves, we'll be ruled by our impulses. Now, it is time to stand up and take control before this silent war takes more than you're willing to lose.
Real men don't hide in the shadows of shame. We step up and we protect what's ours. We fight for our wives and kids, our own hearts. Twitter isn't just an app, it's a weapon. It's a tool used to break free and start living like the man that you're meant to be. The battle's here and it starts with you. You can stop living in shame and you can break free today.
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John Age Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response shock, anger, depression? What was it?
I was extremely angry. I really went bananas.
Yeah, how old was she when this happened?
Possibly 13, 14 years old.
We're talking like it's a disease, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah. How did she explain it to you, Mrs. Morrison?
there was very poor communication until we went into counseling. And it almost broke up our family. But through counseling and Serena, I can understand it better.
What do you understand?
That she feels like she doesn't want to be like everyone else, and she wants to be her own person. And through the dress code and her lifestyle, she's expressing this. It doesn't conform with our rules, but we're learning to cope, and it's a very, very difficult thing. Extremely difficult.
Dareth, let's let you talk for yourself. You're from Long Beach, California.
I just can't handle being like everybody else because that's what everybody else wants, you know. Just because somebody else does something does not mean that I have to do it. You know, I have my own morals and ideals, and I go by them.
Are you drug-free, Dareth?
Yes, I am.
Is this a political statement, then? Do you have some misgiving about the society that you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems, you know. A lot of the people are really aware of what's going on, you know, and I don't like it, you know. There's a lot of problems. I don't like the way society is based.
What bothers you? Give us some of the misgivings you have.
The rich, the poor, the people starving, the wars, you know. Why can't, you know, everybody just get along and just live their life?
You know something is wrong, and it's time to stand up. You are listening to The John Age Show.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. You're headlong down the runaway train that is the Anomic Age, and I am your host, John Age. Happy to be back with you once again. In the not-so-wee hours of the PM, we're sitting at 2:25 Eastern Standard Time. Please check out anomicage.com if you've not already done so. Like all the likes, subscribe to all the subscriptions, paypal.me/anomicage, patreon.com/anomicage as well. I would be ever so grateful. Support the show any way you can, most notably PayPal or Patreon. If you can do no more, share the show links. There you go. That's all I got to say about that. I was just listening to the intro of the show there, or I'd call it the filler piece before the show. The little snippet from Phil Donahue, and I made that all in sheer irony because it was, I believe, in about the mid-'80s, and it was a girl and her mom. And, you know, I sort of souped it up a bit. It made it more apropos for the COVID hoax, and I put the COVID hoax mask on the mom. And to be honest, compared to the girls of today, that was a very modest punk rock girl. It really was. She didn't look even in the least bit strange to me. That's what was so funny about it. That's why I put it on there. But the mother lamented, she just found that she just didn't want to be like everyone else. And I could say that about myself for decades and decades and decades. Because that's really what it boils down to, folks. I don't want to be like everyone else. I look around at the if you can call them humans, around me, and I reject their reality. I reject their lies. I reject it all, folks. I really do. I reject the Satanism. I reject the evil. I reject every single solitary bit of it, of the evil that surrounds. Like that old Earth Crisis song. The evil that surrounds is the weakness that I forsake. That's just it, folks. That's just it. So, title of tonight's episode, Forgotten History of 9/11. I wasn't even going to do a 9/11 show, just as I didn't and won't do a debate show, because the debate show would be the biggest who gives a that I could have possibly done. So I'm not going to do it. If you want to talk about the debate, look elsewhere. It's trite, it's moronic, it's idiotic, and just downright stupid. So there you go. But the 9/11 thing as well, I wasn't going to do an actual show on it. I saw the date looming on the calendar, and I thought to myself, well, this has been done and redone and treaded and retreaded. The horse is dead. It's all a wrap. And then it kind of struck me because I was having a conversation with my daughter. We were going downtown to walk the dog a little bit at the evening hours, and just kind of got off on a conversation about 9/11. Because I'm one of those people, especially with children, I'll give you as much as you can handle, I believe. But then again, my child is very much like me. She can handle a whole lot of truth. So we got off on that because it was the day before, I believe the day before 9/11. And just talking about that and what'd you learn in school? Oh, here's the story and blah, 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 blah. And it's one of those things where it's like, all right, you could tell all the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that's what I always do. But I think at this asinine, bizarre world, satanic death cult that we live in, you kind of got to throw the caveat on there. Like, look, this is what really went down. And then juxtapose that to this is what the normies in our society believe went down. So you kind of have to, sort of walk around on eggshells because of the people in our society that are just mentally ill, that just can't figure out that 2 + 2 = 4. And it's not really because you don't want to offend them. At least for me, it's because I just don't even care enough to have that conversation with the vast majority of the people. I'm of the inclination of, just knock the dust off your sandals and move on, to get all biblical about it, because for the most part, you can help and try to help and try to help and try to help, but until that person wants that help for themselves, it just doesn't matter. So, as I've said many times on the show, my life at this stage of it is a energy conservation project, and that should strike, just warm and fuzzy inside with all the environmental nuts out there. But that's not the energy conservation I'm talking about. Quite to the point, it's the inversion of it. I am energy conservation savvy about my own energy. Because I've learned as I've gotten older, there's only so much time in the day, there's only so much things you can say. So why not just conserve that energy and keep it in? Because the vast majority, they don't care. They don't want to know. They just don't want to know, folks. In the same way that I could give a fruitcake less about oceanography. The average person just could not give a fruitcake less about reality. They are all too happy to stay in their little troglodyte shell of idiocy and just not know. They don't want to know, folks. So that's kind of the conversation we had. I told her all the truth that I could muster in a little short car ride. And I was like, yo, man, I'll give you even more than that. I got so much more truth about so many world events. So much truth that you ain't going to hear in history class. So much truth that they're not going to talk about at dinner at just about any function. They're just not. People want to be ignorant. People want that ignorance is bliss, that old Ramones song. That's what they want, folks. That's it. And sadly, her school is wonderful. I love the people there and the curriculum there. But I guess it's kind of like a CYA scenario where they don't want to ruffle any feathers either with the families, because at the end of the day, they got customers. So maybe that's what's up. And that's fine, because I'm all too happy to tell anybody the truth if they want to know. And then I really started trying to understand this package. You know, I've often quoted on here the Boys in the Hood line from Ice Cube. They don't know, they don't show, or just don't care about what's going on in the hood. And I say that line tongue-in-cheek all the time because that's like a paradox of our society. I mean, it was used in that movie apropos for the context of the cinematography and the story and everything. Like it worked out wonderfully. But you can use that same quote 8 days a week and twice on Sunday trying to understand the naivety, the willing stupidity of the American people. Because I looked at it this way. Is it an information issue? In 2024, is it an information issue where people just don't have the access to the information? So you could look in the 1960s and say, okay, well, it was an information issue that perhaps a lot of people didn't know what was going on with the Gulf of Tonkin. They just took it on good faith. This is why we got to go to war again. Took it on good faith that this is what happened with the JFK assassination again. You know, 10 plus years later, they finally produced the Zapruder film, obviously heavily edited, brought to you by Geraldo Rivera. You know, that's not his real name, Jerry. But I digress. So you could look back in history and say, okay, well, I get it, why people didn't get it. But it's not an information issue anymore, because if anything, I think we have too much information. We are inundated with information now. And I think that's kind of part of the problem, but because people have got so much information, like we went from that open, or rather the closed, very focused hose to the just wide open spread now. That's what we got, you know. If you want to look at the shotgun approach versus a 308, that's kind of where we are now. We're at shotgun approach, just complete projectiles everywhere out the barrel. So that, I believe, is part of the problem, because it's not that we don't have the information. I think quite the contrary, we have too much almost. Not too much in that we shouldn't be allowed to see it, but too much in that I think the human mind can't really perceive everything that's going on now, because here's all this information about reality and history, and then here's all this information about trivialities and nonsense. And I'll give you some of that in a minute. Don't worry. I know that's what people really tune into the show for, is trivialities and nonsense. So I'll be happy to oblige you. So it's not that there's a lack of information or lack of access. That's not it. Okay. Is it that people are just stuck in that normalcy bias? They don't want to believe that the world that they live in is not what it seems. Like that old Snapcase song, I am not as you portray me. I think our reality is not as it is portrayed. I think that's a element of it too. The normalcy bias. I think that's one key of it. And the other aspect is the learned helplessness. Because I think if anything, and this is what they don't want to talk about with all the pomp and circumstance and debates and elections and, oh, this is going to make a big difference. What they don't want to talk about, folks, is that the last election, the obviously in your face, rubbing your nose in the brown stuff, stolen aspect of it. Put aside for the fact that the politicians are bought and sold. That should mean something, but it doesn't to the average person. So I think it created a learned helplessness. Just like the psychology studies where they had the dogs on a shock plate and they couldn't move and they couldn't move and they finally just laid down. After they pulled all the barricades away, they just laid down and believed that they could no longer escape. They were in a state of learned helplessness. Same thing with you. If you got a baby elephant, you tie it down with a chain and a big stake. That elephant grows up to full pachyderm there. It could rip the stake out, run over cars, just topple the entire big top with one appendage. But it's gone into that learned helplessness, in which case it thinks it can't do anything. So I believe that's perhaps where we really are. That the American people don't want to know because it'll spoil their fantasy. And then the flip side of it is they don't want to know because then they would have to admit that they can't do a doggone thing about it. The learned helplessness would have to be an admitted reality, which would fly in the face of the pomp and circumstance of we're number one, USA, USA, all that baloney. It would fly in the face of that. And I think therein lies the problem. So I'll just give you some of the highlight reels of the 9/11 false flag. Things that should make anyone with eyes to see and ears to hear pause, guffaw, and just go, what? You mean yeah, exactly. And this is some of the stuff that I was going through the other day, just sort of like off the cuff. This is just random information. I haven't even studied 9/11 in years, to be quite honest. It's just kind of been parked in the back of my mind because, like everything else, nothing will be done, was done, or is going to be done. I mean, there's nothing that's going to happen with the false flag of 9/11. Nothing. So let's get to a rundown. You had Bush sitting there reading a story where they're talking about steel and they're talking about kites and they're talking about impacts and all this stuff. A coincidence, I know. So they have the, I don't know, it's a Secret Service come in and say, oh, Mr. Bush, Yeah, that sort of thing. And then he proceeds to just sit there a little longer and keep telling the story. There's no, hey, maybe we should get out of here. Hey, big place in NYC just got taken down. What do you think? We want to leave here, old Georgie Porgy? Yeah? You want to do that? Forget about it. Scramble jets, anyone? Nah, I don't think so. Anytime, and this happens, I won't say regularly, but it happens just about yearly, where there's some sort of event on an airliner, and they send up some fighter jets, and they park along each wing, and they politely get on the captain's ear and say, hey, we're going to escort you down. And that's what happens. Not on 9/11. No, no, no. That would make too much sense. Let's run you another one by. What about the fact that coincidence again, they're running a drill that mirrors what really went down at the same place and the same time as the actual event that mirrors the drill? Anybody say Boulder Dash? Nah, it's cool, right? No, that's just normal. I'll pull you some of these off my my own Twitter because I put some of these on there. I'll read this to you. Larry Silverstein, World Trade Center owner, is the image of his son and daughter. The three of them, including 196 of the 200 employees that worked in their office every day, did not show up for work on 9/11. Robert Mueller, hired as FBI director 4 days before 9/11, did not question them. Didn't question them. Like, forget about it. We don't need to question them. Why would we? You want to talk about the big insurance policy that was taken out? Oh, well, that's coincidental, isn't it? What about the missing money? Anybody remember that one? The missing money? I thought I had one for this one, but I don't think I did. Oh, heavens to Betsy. I swear I thought I had one. So you had the missing money. I think this was a billion, if not more, just missing the day before 9/11. Yet old Cheney comes out to talk about it. And then you never heard another word. I mean, today that'd be chump change because, I mean, we just give out billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel, and it's no big deal at all. It's like paying a parking ticket for land of the sheep, home of the slave. But I would assume, at that time, it was a big deal. It isn't today, but, that's just norm. It's just how it goes around this mug. What else we got? We've got the hilarious joke of, just so happens the Patriot Act just appears a couple days later. What in the world? It's like we had this voluminous document that just showed up on our doorstep. It's the Patriot Act. Anytime they label anything positively, you can guarantee you it's going to be impacting you negatively. Patriot Act ain't nothing patriotic about it. That just meant they can just disappear you, take you away. You might be a threat to our safety. TSA, anyone? Just popped up out of the blue. We're going to need somebody to molest people at the airport, to run people through a body scanner to make sure and give them cancer. Where'd that come from? I just showed up, man. We just, boom. There it was. Got the Patriot Act, the most non-patriotic bunch of mess you've ever seen. What about the old obvious one that the jet fuel doesn't burn steel beams? Remember that? No, it doesn't, actually. In the history of architecture, folks, no other buildings have ever been taken down by a plane like that. They just haven't. Speaking of Building 7, went down in its own footprint, never got hit by... Yeah, it didn't. Didn't get hit by anything. What about the BBC calling it before it happened? Hour or so before it happened. Well, we've got Building 7. It's falling down. We're going to have to take a break because, holy shnikes, our story ain't jiving with the images behind us. Just a problem, ain't it? What about the passports? That was the biggest laugh of all, folks. This is why this is security theater. Because, after all, TSA should be defunct because the border's wide open. They should have no security on airlines anymore. None. Heck, they can't even keep the airlines in the sky. Ain't nobody even trying to take them out. But still, we've got the TSA agent. I can't even get big enough because they're so obese. The TSA agents are here. We're going to molest you if you don't comply with us. We'll take you into the back room, and then we'll really get good with you, And then selling the naked body images from the cancer scanners they got. Yeah, remember that from like 10 years ago? It's for your safety, though, you dummy. Just go along with it. It's for your safety. Security theater, folks. Back to the passports. Yeah, somehow they expected the American people to believe, and rightly so, because I guess they're brain-dead adults, in all the wreckage, the rubble, the burning cinder, in all the catastrophe and mayhem and strife. We were able to pull 2 passports out of this mug. Yeah, we got 2 passports that somehow miraculously made it through it all. Ain't a black box recovered in this whole thing, but we managed to get you 2 paper passports out of it. I mean, this wouldn't even cut the mustard in a mystery theater, folks. But yet the American people went, okay, all right, sounds good. I'll never forget, this is the diatribe that we were told. Remember this? The jet fuel just made its way down the elevator shafts. Everybody in their right mind was envisioning the scene out of The Shining, where the blood's just cascading down and out of the elevator shafts. Except in this case, that jet fuel made it from the toppity top to the bottomity bottom somehow. Of course, without igniting, without evaporating, without just not being enough liquid to pull that off. I mean, the whole thing is so stupid. But that was the story, right? Because the jet fuel just cascaded down and allowed the implosion and explosion and dustification and disappearance of the buildings, Because what's the first thing you do at a crime scene? Well, you start cleaning it up. That's what you do. What? Yeah, they said no investigator ever, unless it was a government op. Yeah, like the Oklahoma City bombing, like 9/11, like the Sandy Hook event. Oh, can we even say the words? All these various ops, it's cleanup time before the daggum dust even settles. You want me to pull some more out here for you? The absurdity. Again, no black boxes recovered, but we got the paper passports. Wink, wink, wink. Yeah, and then the other event, what was this? The Shanksville plane. You'd see this nonsense, right? The Shanksville crash. That was the alleged, let's roll. Let's roll, because somehow the phones magically worked, and then some didn't work, and then some were the right people, and then some were, and the whole thing was just hysterical. Looked like somebody had just taped this together the night before. But the Shanksville plane, that was the Let's Roll crew. That's the only crew, anybody on any plane that had any gumption, allegedly, that they said, let's roll, we're going to take out the hijackers. We're going to stop them because they got them spooky box cutters and we ain't trying to die. But let's roll people said, okay, we can do it. I mean, a box cutter, those plastic box cutters are the most worthless things on earth. But that was what the big weaponry was, Did I mention the fact that some of these alleged hijackers came forward as living individuals and went, yo, that's not us. That's not me on the plane. That's my image perhaps, but I'm over here. I have nothing to do with this. Good job just randomly choosing Arabic names, because after all, then we have to go into Afghanistan and spread more love, because as old Georgie Porgy, Bush baby, said, you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. That's how it always works, you see. You're with us or you're with the terrorists. Because the good propaganda campaign is already in work. Because somehow just hours after the event, my goodness gracious, we figured out who it was. Someone's come forward and said it's the Taliban. What? You mean those people we trained in the early 80s to take out the Russians? That's them, huh? Al-Qaeda? Yeah, that's them. Who was at the head of this thing? You know who it was? It was this guy on dialysis in a cave. What? They should have came out and said it was Gargamel. It would have been more realistic. A guy on dialysis in a cave is the guy at the head of the snake that is just taking out World Trade Center. Okay. You mean the same guy that's CIA asset? The same guy that was trained in the U.S.? The same guy whose family was told to leave the day before? The same guy who we escorted the rest of his family out right after that? When they stopped all the plane flights known to man, I guess, in the United States, except for the planes that were getting his family the ding-dong out of there. You can't make this up, folks. You just can't make it up. It's such a comedy routine. But the real comedy is that the American people fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And that they are afraid to face the reality that they fell for it hook, line, and sinker. They still promulgate the lie of a guy on dialysis in a cave, 3 planes, and all that mess. This is the lie that is still being told, folks. Still being told today. So those of you who keep coming out with more and more evidence of the COVID hoax and the mask being BS and the medicine killing you and all this stuff, it doesn't even matter. That's what's so comical about it. The 9/11 truth movement has been in operation since the event, basically. But the lie's still being told. Okay? Same thing with the JFK assassination. We all know it's bunk, but they're still telling this stuff. That's what's the biggest joke of all time, folks. It's like sitting around with other adults and talking about the candy man coming to bring you little bubble gum and chocolate treats at the end of your bed at night. And all the adults going, that's right, it's the candy man. He stops by our bedroom every night and he leaves me little chocolate drops and bubble gums at the end of the bed. It's the candy man, I tell you. And all the other adults is going, that's right, Steve, it is the candy man. You know, he came to our house just the other night. I mean, that is the level of delusion that you have to be in our society right now. You got to be at that level of complete insanity because there's nutbags out there that buy it. And if you start disagreeing with them, that'll precipitate this long diatribe of idiotic conversation that'll just be a urinating contest to nothing. So at the end of the day, I just don't have the time to pee away my time trying to convince mentally handicapped people that that's what's going down, you know? JFK, RLK, MLK, John Lennon, Reagan, bleep sakes, Malcolm X, Bob Marley, all these things are just complete, like, this is what went down, but this is the story we're going to tell you. This is the story. This is reality. So I don't even know if forgotten history is the truth. It's rejected reality in favor of false history. I mean, I think it was 10 or 12 years ago, it was some big study that came out and said, you know, goldfish have the mental capacity of this much memory. You know, I don't know, it was like 5 minutes or what have you. That was their attention span. That's what they could retain. And they came out and said, guess what? Humans right now have an even less of an attention span and memory and the context and the higher mental faculties to really conceptualize their reality. It's less than a goldfish. That was 10 plus years ago. So when you look out among your citizens, the citizenry of this country, and you see the open sewer, the just baseline MASH unit, the escapes from asylums because the asylums vastly got shut down after Reagan. Again, because of some big expose. That was, again, Jerry Rivers again, old Geraldo Rivera, the big expose on the asylums in the 70s. If you remember that, you can look it up and find this information. That was kind of the real cornerstone to doing away with the asylums. And I'm not suggesting that they were good, because I will have to admit to you, they look dreadful. But the problem is, now society is the asylum. So there's no place anymore that people can be remanded to just not foul up the works of society with their crazy. It's just like the average guy on the streets talking to himself, looking up at the trees, pretending to be things they're not. I mean, that's just the norm here now. So in order to compensate or cope with that, the functional citizens have to go along with the insanity. Oh, yeah, 9/11, that was the planes hitting, and that's what happened. Oh, yeah, Oklahoma City, that was an ampho bomb by some crazed patriot. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Sandy Hook, that was just some guy, one dude, autistic, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, Columbine, that was just these two bad apples that just went crazy because nobody liked them. I mean, you have to just put your mind on hold and just distill down to the most inane level of ignoramus. And then you can function in the daily on our society right now. Because this is really what people are into. I know we're over 30 minutes right now. I got to give you this. Because in lieu of the fact we just went through another anniversary of the false flag 9/11, nobody wants to talk about the elephant in the room, the Cheneys, the Rumsfelds, the Bushes, the Jews, all the different people that were playing a role in this. Just like the Kennedy assassination, no one wants to talk about the mob, the CIA, the Federal Reserve, the gold standard. No one wants to talk about that. It's just, hey, we found this patsy, Lee Harvey Oswald. Did you hear about that? Yeah, that's the story. So instead of questioning the narrative and even throwing things on the wall and seeing what sticks, nobody's running anything up the flagpole because they've handed you the flag, that you're supposed to embrace and keep saying red, white, and blue, America, we love you, or whatever the bleep it is. Don't question anything. Just don't question any narrative. Just fall in line with the most base level moron. And you found your spot in 2024. So let's roll through some of the highlights that people actually do want to talk about, because I know this is what's on everyone's mind. The Video Music Awards. I didn't even know this was still going on because it's so stupid. I legitimately haven't seen anything VMA in over 20 years. 100% factor. I have not. I didn't even know they were still doing this crud. So anyway, we got Sabrina Carpenter, and as I posted on Twitter, some nobody that they just made into a somebody. No one's ever heard of this person. No one cares. Whatever this person is doing, it's irrelevant. The only thing that is relevant is we have some lesbian kiss of this chick and an alien, some other creature in a costume. I can't believe we're not at the point where we have to acknowledge and accept that some people are just freaky aliens, and some people, they're wearing a costume, but well, they're an alien now, so you've got to call him Click Clock or whatever. Mork and Mindy revisited now. So anyway, Sabrina Carpenter, I guess, is somehow important. In my humble opinion, it's a big collective yawn. Who cares? So you're kissing some chick or creature in an alien costume. Hold the phone, boys and girls. I am shocked. I tell you what, completely shocked. But wait, there's more. You got Katy Perry up there at the VMAs wearing some suit to appear that she is completely naked. It appears to me, but she's wearing some sort of flesh-toned outfit. And she's up there scissoring with some other woman on the stage there at the VMAs. Yeah, this is real. Can't make this up. And maybe I'm an old fuddy-duddy here because I'm watching this going, this is just sad. I swear to you, every time I've seen anything of Katy Perry's in the last 10 years, I mean, I always thought this is just sad. But in the last 10 years, I really look at it like, man, this is just so pathetic. It makes me think of this old line from Chris Rock when he was still funny. He said, you don't want to be the old guy at the club. Bingo. You don't want to be the old girl at the club either, Katie. And I swear, I don't care, how much work you've had done, how much exercise and fitness you've gone in to make yourself look the way you look at this age and so forth and so on. I ain't hating on you. Great. Good on you. But what I am saying is, you're at the stage in your life where that old stuff, at some point you got to put the ball down. You're a mom. Allegedly. You got a man in a relationship. Allegedly. And that does not mean that you have to join a convent when you pass 30 or whatever the case may be. But I am saying at some point in the game, you've got to realize, to quote Dirty Harry, a man's got to know his limitations. You do. At a certain point, you can't go out there and run the ball like you used to. You can't go skate. You can't play ball. You can't do all that stuff as you used to be able to. You just have to admit that and just realize it. So when I see older people trying to look and act and emulate their own youth or others that are youthful, it's just pathetic, man. This is gross and pathetic. That's all I got to say about that. We got a little bit more for you because I know the Swifties are out there going, man, can we just talk about Taylor? That's all we want to talk about is Taylor Swift. Who cares, folks? Taylor Swift makes VMA history. She wins, I guess, like the most awards ever or something. Who the freak knows? I'm going to do a whole other show on how our society is nothing but mid. I know. It's all mid-level. It really is. But apparently Taylor, after coming out earlier this week and being exposed with her relationship with Travis Kelce, I don't know why this is even still being run as legitimate either. I mean, it was already exposed that this is illegitimate, bogus baloney. But we're still carrying on with the charade, folks. I mean, that's the running theme of all themes here. The same thing with this kiss, with this fruitcake alien creature. How many times has there been a freaky kiss on the VMAs and everybody's supposed to gasp, you know? From Madonna to Madonna and Britney and Aguilera, and now we got an alien on board. They keep running the same play because it works on the lowest forms of life on this planet, folks. So when you're looking at this, you're going like, this is the same mess they did before, right? Yeah. It wasn't ironic or innovative then, and it certainly isn't 30 plus years later. It's silly. You got Katy Perry doing the same mess, man. It's like the narrative is, oh, Katy is still vital and the artist she always was, and she's like 20 years removed from her prime, folks. It's just the facts. It's not a shot, but we're still supposed to pretend like, oh yes, it's 2005 again, and boy, all this is just so whatever. And then the same thing with Taylor Swift. I don't know how old this chick is, like mid-30s here now, and we're still, like we're still supposed to believe that she's in a legitimate relationship with Travis Kelce, even though it all got proven to be a bunch of bull. Like even that it has been proven that plane could not have possibly come into the Pentagon at that trajectory and made any kind of damage like we saw. We're still just peddling the same lies. Yeah, the relationship was a joke, but well, don't worry, she's at the VMAs with Travis Kelce and they're doing some little dance at a football game. Like, it's just, goodness gracious. Talk about keeping up appearances, folks. It's like we're just going to stick together for the kids. And the kids are the American morons buying this. It's just such a comedy routine. Such a comedy routine, folks. So anyway, I know very well that no one wanted to talk about 9/11, so there you go. I have sufficiently covered the weekly world news edition of things that the listening and viewing audience really cares about, because that's far more interesting than the fact that we have the attention span lower than a goldfish and can't seem to grasp the forest for the trees. It's a facade, it's a trick, it's a scam, it's a hustle, it's a dodge, folks. Wake up and smell the coffee. I just gave you a brief rundown of our history of 9/11. I might very well do this on other events in the future. You can't do everything, but you can do something. Get out there, do your part, make a difference. I'll be seeing you sooner than later in the Anomic Age.
Thank you for listening to The Anomic Age, a John Age project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to anomicage.com. That's ANOMICAGE.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to The Anomic Age.
Thank you.